To the people voting no on the referendum, a question for you. How come you are so opposed to a voice to Parliament that, because of the way Parliament works, where everything that is said or every document that is tabled is recorded, we are able to read or listen to anything that is said in Parliament? Um, so the voice will be a very open uh, lobby uh, that will go into Parliament and request whatever it is that First Nations people need. But you're opposed to it, even though you'll be able to read and be able to um, make a judgment on the merits of their requests and a judgment on the response of the Parliament to those requests. It is as open as it gets. I mean, we've nothing like it in this country. But whilst you are saying no to the voice, you're saying yes to moguls, that is, billionaires, both local and foreign, to arrange meetings with ministers, federal ministers, state ministers, local councils, and those meetings are held behind closed doors. There are three words that they always use as to why they can't disclose whatever it was that was discussed in those meetings. And it is commercial in confidence. That is a veil that, in my mind, covers corruption in this country. You're okay with that. You're okay to keep that going. You've got no proposals for a check on that corruption. And if you look at the people that are funding the No campaign and that are suggesting the narrative of the No campaign, these are people that are working for those people that make, that enter into those meetings behind closed doors, do deals, corrupt our politicians, corrupt our system of government. But you seem to be okay with that. Is it the color of the skin of the people that are asking for a voice? I have to say yes, that is a major factor for a lot of people, and that is shame. That is a shame on this country. I just don't get it. I just really do not get it. How you can have corruption on one side and no one speaks up. Yet people with no power, that will have no power, should they get the voice through, all they will have is the ability to say, hey, we need this done. They have no gifts to give to politicians. They just want to look after their people in their communities. We are just a mere few weeks away from making the biggest decision that this country has ever made. I mean, seriously, this is a decision that would unite the country. And if they get the voice really, okay, if you're a farmer and you think that farmers are getting hard done by, right, you can, the farming community could say, we want a voice to Parliament, right? And then when they go in there, they would do the same as the First Nations people would, and that is put the case forward, and then the Parliament would say yeah or nay to that. The same would go for sporting bodies. Why does the NRL get all this money and the AFL get all this money and football doesn't, or swimming or whatever else, right? Sporting bodies should have a voice to Parliament because they are using our taxpayer money to fund different sports at different levels. That's just an argument. That's just an example of what goes on. You know, when you look at that sports roads, um, you know, money went to uh, you know, locations that were um, you know, that had affinity for the Liberal Party. Now, are the people that missed out voting no? They should, because if the voice gets in, the next voice will go in, and then we'd have a parliament, a government that will be governing for us, all of us, not just vested interests. So we need to open the door to air and shine a light on all the corruption that's in government. The voice will be the key to open that door. If you still vote no, if the voice doesn't get up, this country will remain corrupt, and it will remain as an example of what not to do globally. Now, we're not the only country that treats their indigenous people, you know, as a subspecies. That goes on around the world, right? But we will be joining those people, right? We will be joining those countries that treat their indigenous people with disregard. And I think that is a shame on this country. It will be a dark spot. It will be a dark spot, just as the stolen generation remains a dark spot in history. Okay, it will be a dark spot with, you know, with as dark as the removal of children from families and putting them into Christian children's homes, where rape and all sorts of different things occurred. Okay, and we've dismissed all that. You know, we say, okay, you know, these people, you know, that was history, and it you know, it happened. Sure, it's history, it happened, but it has an ongoing effect on people. If you're 5, 6, 7 years old and you get put in a home like that, and then you are let loose at 16, 17, 18, you never forget when you were 5. Right? That's how we treated our First Nations people in this country. Right? We're still 500 massacres during the frontier wars, where the colonizers came in, then wanted some land, the locals had to be kicked out. If they fought back, kill them all. You know, those are the people that are trying to join our society, be part of us, okay, and not be seen as lesser because of the color of the skin, because of their history, because of the conditions that they live in. These are conditions that are not entirely of their making. These are conditions that we have forced upon them. But never forget, the key to this is vote no for the voice, vote yes for corruption. That's what it means. That's what it means, because the people that do not want the voice is the people that want to have unfettered access to Aboriginal land, where a government can say to a miner, here's your license to explore for gas, oil, or whatever else you know, might be underground, right? And they get there, they find something. Whoever approved that, right, will get a kickback. They will get a kickback. The Aboriginal people, they might get a little bit of royalties here or there, but they're not going to get the hospital. They're not going to get the air-conditioned school in the Northern Territory. Right? They're not going to get transport. The education is going to be, you know, subpar compared to what happens in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and every other capital city. You know, you only have to compare, you know, places like Perth in New South Wales. It's an Aboriginal community, right? And the trouble is with that community is that the education and the treatment that the town folks, you know, created a rebellious youth, right? And then the locals say, oh, they're just trouble. I know, I live there. Okay, this mob are just trouble. They're not trouble. They got nothing to do, right? So they just do whatever they please because there are no other options. They don't have a job to go to or make you a coffee or cook your steak, right? Because they're not employed. Because the people say, what? An Aboriginal cooking my steak? No chance, right? That's the sort of country we have been, right? We've got to change that. You look at the successful Aboriginal people amongst us, university graduates, business people, right? They have a brain. All we have to do is encourage that, and the way that you encourage that is you create a situation where a future, a much better future for them, is possible. The boys are the first steps towards a better future for them, and if it is a better future for them, it is a better future for us because they will create businesses in their own communities. They will invite us over to enjoy their resorts, if you will. Okay, they will invite us over to learn the history that they've experienced, that their people have experienced over over 100 years, right? Since the colonization, right? And this is where truth telling comes in. They will educate you about Australia's history from their point of view. Okay, and all this stuff is out there. All you have to do is read a little bit, have a little bit of empathy for people that are doing it tough, and not of their own making. A lot of people say, oh, well, they shouldn't drink, they shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do that, right? People shouldn't spit on the highway and get killed, but they do, right? You can't control what people do in under different conditions, right? Now, the guy that spits on the highway is just stupid. The guy that drinks and maybe bashes his wife in an Aboriginal community is just frustrated. He's got no future, so he doesn't care. Right? It's just what the hell? No one cares about me. Right? That's how the people we need to help. We need to bring them into our fold. Right? And that fold is our society. They've got to be part of us. We've got to be part of their society. Understand where they're coming from. Right? So don't vote for corruption. Vote for a better future. And I hope you take something out of this. Thank you for listening. If you have, that's fine.